I got had a Willie or a Sam. No, Sam. They're all... Am I right, old man? I'm jaded. I guess we're jaded. It's a jaded world.
Hello, I am MJ. My pronouns are she, her, and welcome to our podcast, A Jaded World. This is my partner.
I'm Peter Teabags, they, them, are the pronouns I go by. And this is my partner, the whole MJ situation. You're so sick.
Yeah, I'm very sick.
I'm sorry, it's just that I don't know how to interact with a sick person.
Clearly.
So you're still... Okay, I've seen a lot of zombie movies.
Mm.
Are you still my wife?
I feel as though I am.
Okay. That's good.
Do you think I am not?
I just wanted to
Have I crossed the line into zombie?
Well, here's the thing. The people in those movies who love their loved ones, you know, they always think that they're there too long, and it's like, hey, that's not your sister anymore, and then they have to sit and watch the character turn into a zombie before they'll believe it, and they endanger the rest of the group because of it.
I'm not sure what you're trying to get at here. Would you like to murder me now or later?
I hope not.
So that's not what you were getting at?
No, I just got lost on talking about zombies. That's all.
Right.
It had nothing. It was
but
nothing
at
personal.
What point you were just saying they wait too long? Are you saying you're waiting too long with me? Because you asked if I still feel like your wife.
Well, it's important to ask those questions. They never ask that. It's like, hey, I know you got bit by that zombie and you think that you're okay, but do you feel like you? Like, they never ask that. They just... I'm not asking if you're okay. I'm saying, are you you? Are you you?
I am still me. Just
Well, that's
very,
great.
very tired.
Oh, me too.
Did you go Mickey? I'm always
wasn't
wearing
Mickey.
this Mickey sweatsuit
I mean, it's...
because
cute on you.
we're birthday twins, so me and Mickey go way back.
Hey there! I'm Mickey Mouse.
Really, I just love wearing it because it's the biggest sweatsuit I own.
Oh, toodles! That wasn't a good one because I have COVID. You also have COVID, which is why you feel like shit. But you know what? All that talk about killing you earlier, it was unfounded because it's not going to happen. You're not turning into a zombie. You're still the person I love, and you are a person I love.
Yay.
Did you know that?
I did know that.
You know something about somebody once said to me. They looked me dead in the eye and said, "You really love your wife."
Who was that?
It was just somebody that I work with. But it was just at lunch. I was talking about you in a way that I talk about you regularly, and they felt that it was noteworthy. It's like, you really love your wife. Like, if that's... And then the conversation followed up with, if that's... I think most people would describe you as that, like...
Right.
I adore you. And I don't... We grew up in the 90s, and also the 80s, and also the 2000s, and also the 2010s, and also some of the 2020s. We're still kind of growing
up a little bit here, but...
But a lot of what we saw on pop culture, whenever there was like a relationship or something, it was, for some reason, there was always this battle between the husbands and wives. How many times growing up did you hear the battle of the sexes?
Why, though?
Did you hear that?
Of course, yeah.
It was constant. I never turned... Every show in the 90s had the battle of the sexes. And it was... Even, like, the husbands on the shows hated their wives. The wives on the shows hated their husbands. And there's that trope that you see on every show. It was always that everybody talked about. It was the gorgeous supermodel wife and the schlubby husband. And the schlubby husband would be so angry that his wife wasn't having sex with him. And the gorgeous supermodel wife, it was like, hey, help me with the kids. And also stop going to strip clubs, which was always a thing. King of Queens did that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like every sitcom did. Everybody Loves Raymond. All of them were like that, right? Like, it was just...
Well, Everybody Loves Raymond, Deborah fucking hated Raymond. I don't know why she was married to that guy.
Right.
Like, it wasn't just that she hated his family. She hated him.
But why was that the thing? Like, why is that how we're going to portray marriage? And then we've talked about this before. I hate the phrase staying together for the kids. You are not doing that for the children. I'm sorry. And I shouldn't get I know everyone has their own shit they're going through and whatever, but
Can you imagine sharing a bed with somebody for decades?
Right.
Because you
want to placate your children.
Because you want your kids to think that everything's okay.
Right. And then, so that's this image that we grew up with, is that this is how marriage was supposed to be. And once you get married, like,
why is that you're
love
okay?
goes out the window, and you just hate each other, and you know, like, and I remember it wasn't just in the media. Like, I would go hang out with a lot of, the other moms, and they would just sit and bitch about their partners.
Oh, like when we were newly married?
Newly married. And
New married. Remember back in the new marriage times?
Yeah.
The long ago?
So...
We were naked so often.
They were constantly talking bad about their husbands.
In the nudity, huh?
Well,
we
stay on topic?
No, we stay on topic.
Yes, I would love to be nude all the time.
Okay.
Anyway, so they were just always talking shit. And I would, just kind of sit around like, yeah. And then finally one day I, like, engaged. And I was like, yeah, and I can't even remember. You helped out all the time, so I don't know what I would have complained about, but I'm sure there was something dumb. And I remember just coming home and feeling so guilty. Like, that was the dumbest thing. I just was complaining just because everyone else was complaining. Like,
you didn't want to be left out of the conversation.
Yeah. But I never... And, I mean, they picked up on it. My friends would pick up on it, too. Like, why are you never... And it's like, if I have an issue with my partner, I go talk to my partner,
even before we had the open communication that we have now, we did a pretty good job of...
We really did.
If there was an issue, let's be mad about it, but... if I'm not going to talk about it to you, I'm not going to talk about it to anybody else, which is probably not the most healthy, but we had that. I wanted to tell you.
Certain people I talked to about our relationship and when we were fighting or arguing or whatever, but at the same time, you were the first one that I would talk through it, and then I would also talk with other people, but it was never like in a... It was more like, I don't know how to work through this, versus Peter did this and I'm fucking pissed, and
having fun.
Yeah.
competing for the worst spouse. I don't understand.
Yeah.
And the guys that I would work, a lot of the people that I worked with, I worked in construction, would do the same thing.
Yeah.
They'd sit and complain about how their wives spent so much money, or the house wasn't absolutely spotless when they came home. Well, like, you fucking live there too, dude. Yeah. If you want the house to be clean,
that's another phrase
clean
that really
fucking
bothers
something
me
up.
Is when men or anyone says the phrase, yeah, they're babysitting their kids.
Oh my god. Oh, no, I can't go out tonight. I gotta babysit my kids.
Yeah. Excuse me? Like, it's your child.
It's not... Babysitting implies that you should be getting paid for this. Yeah. Like, that you're providing a service. No, that's what you do. That's... Those kids there...
You care for them. You provide for them.
That means that if one of you has to be outside of the house, you find somebody to actually babysit them, or you just are with your children.
I'm not sure I understand.
Same.
I wasn't talking to you. Fucking Siri, man.
Yeah.
But so I would listen to these guys complain about their wives and how much they disliked being with them, and how their favorite times of the week were when they got to be out somewhere else.
Yeah. Out
at the bar with their friends, or out to a football game, which I guess football is a pastime.
So
that's an actual
why
hobby.
Be married? That's my question. Why are you staying married? Is it just divorce looks bad? Is like what is keeping people there?
Because if I'm making the commitment to spend my time with, if you get married, you're making the commitment to spend the majority of the rest of your life with this person.
Yeah. I mean, I feel
why
like
not have it?
What that going in, right? Like most people know when you get married, you're gonna have to spend that time with that person. So you better make sure you actually like spending time with them. And not to mention, as marriage goes on, like. And I think we jump into this later in the episode about Saga, but you have to be progressing forward.
Yeah.
And marriage should be moving forward, and you're learning and growing together.
When you get to your 15th anniversary, you should not be married to the same person that you married.
Right. And
they should be a new person.
I feel like that would... And maybe that's where people get off track or something.
They get so hung up on holding on to what they had instead of looking at what they have.
Right.
Which you learn about it in meditation a lot. Is you are told to stop looking for what you want to have and look at what you have, but stop looking at what you used to have.
Right.
And acknowledge what is here. Because then you're not living in a false reality. So, I guess, why would you want to be with the person you're saying those terrible things about? If I had to go home to the person that
you had just spent all day talking shit about, how is there going to be any sort of intimacy? How is there going to be any sort of
of how terrible
respect towards one another.
I think how terrible that life would be if you leave work where you've worked your ass off, because it was construction. We worked our asses off. We worked very hard. But then to have to go home, and then that's more work to be around this person who you don't enjoy being around, who brings you displeasure.
Yeah.
not just that you don't like being with them, that you don't like this person enough that you're calling them a bitch.
I cannot believe
to other people. Like, okay, one time I got
you
mad.
called me a bitch.
I called you a bitch once. I had been working. It was one of those days that I had worked the over 24 hours straight.
Okay, yeah, I want to know how I was a bitch in this situation.
I was on the job site. It was 2 a.m, and I had lost my. I did not want to be at work, but I had finished that. We finally finished up the job, and I had called you a few times.
Oh, and I didn't wake up.
And it had nothing to do with you. It was. I think I told you about this.
I did not wake up very well, so yeah, I was being a bitch in that moment.
Well, we had just discussed it. It was like, hey, I'm gonna be home late. Will you please make sure that you? It's like, goddamn bitch, fuck.
Excuse me.
And then I immediately felt bad about it, and I told you about it a couple years later because like I stewed on how bad I felt about it.
Sure, yeah.
And the thing is, I didn't even say it to somebody else. I yelled it. I said, goddamn bitch. And
you were such a marshmallow.
Oh.
You have to kill me off before you fantasize about anyone else.
Well,
I love it.
I mean, you're cool.
No,
Have you seen
but
you?
that's why we choose each other, though. Like,
I mean, you make a broken eyebrow ring look cool.
how does it just? I wasn't even touching it; it just broke. Like,
I guess that's what happens when you spend less than $10 on
a piece of jewelry.
5 pieces of jewelry.
That set was like at least $25.
At least 25. Okay.
Come now. I
So
spend a tiny bit there.
Where do you think that comes from? Does it come from the media? Was it?
I mean, it was definitely everywhere in the media. So yeah.
The hatred of, or the
and I feel
encouragement
like
to talk shit about your
shifting.
spouse.
The things are definitely shifting to where I feel like our generation, millennials, they're done with the hate talk. Really, and definitely our kids are over the hate.
The Zoomers are definitely going to be changing things.
I mean, I hope so. Anyway, at least our children are, because they show me up like all the time. Sometimes
how much you learn from them?
Yeah, well, just like they'll call me out if I'm being hateful at all in any way. You know, like they're gonna.
Or if something you say is.
Not that I'm a hateful person,
originates
but
from. It's
yeah,
like, oh
if
yeah,
it
why is that?
originates in hate or like my
Because
kids will call me out on it, and
because there's so much you have to unlearn with ingrained racism when you have grown up in a system
really
that is
cool
inherently racist.
Because what is it?
Gen Z.
Gen Z. So Gen Z grew up with the internet. Because
Never
they did.
Not having internet.
Because they did, they're exposed to all these other cultures.
And ideas.
And
which can be scary.
Which is terrifying. But also they're less hateful because they have been exposed. Because they do see, oh shit, we're kind of human everywhere you go. Mm-hmm. And it gives me hope because, I mean, last week we were talking about like just how jaded and hateful and blah 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 we are, but there's hope in them. Mm-hmm. Because they see people as they are and they celebrate the uniqueness, but they are making fun of us like no other. Oh, and I love it. I think it's hilarious.
Gen Z humor is just making fun of
millennials.
Millennial humor. Like, we weren't so mean to the Gen Xers. Come on, leave me be. But
I think it's funny. I think it's really
you
funny.
mentioned that it was constant exposure their entire life to the internet that gives this next generation, like, they're less, or so many more young people are, actively seeking better change.
And I do think it all comes down to their emotions, really. Because we still have the same amount of children who are with strict parents raising them to believe this certain thing, right? But as they're exposed to more cultures and different values, like everything, it's playing on their emotions because they want their values and their beliefs to be valued. They want to be seen. So in order to do that, they have to accept everyone else's, right?
So that's the experience that our children have had. A lot of kids with constant exposure to the internet have the other route where they are funneled down like a hateful route through the different algorithm. And it reminds me of what we just watched, the Aziz Ansari special on Netflix.
Yeah.
And he talks about how people are trapped in their algorithm. And that's where it's confirmation bias. You have an idea, you go look for an answer to it, and you find that answer.
Yeah.
So what happens is people end up in this algorithm, and they end up thinking, oh, I'm supposed to tell my friends how much I hate my spouse. There's going to be something wrong with me if I don't. So you're told that this is the norm.
And I got caught up in that, and then...
That's why we grew up in the 90s, where heroin chic was the thing.
Oh,
like, the supermodels in the 90s had a very look. Not all of them, but the look of the 90s supermodel was so skinny, which it still is. The beauty industry is still focused on thinness, but not as much.
Yeah.
But because we were stuck in that algorithm, we had no way outside of it. It was if we consumed entertainment, we saw skinny, usually blonde models with large breasts. And we thought that was beauty. So if we wanted to be beautiful, we have to be skinny with large breasts and have blonde hair. So if we want to be normal and not weird, we have to complain about our spouse. We have to act like we hate them because everybody else that's around me hates them, which causes people who didn't even feel that way to say the things, and then it perpetuates this cycle. It's herd mentality. Herd mentality can be so dangerous.
Yeah.
Well, that was a lot. We got some things.
I'm sorry, I feel very spacey this week, but I appreciate the...
There's no need to apologize. You're doing...
Jury. I can't even talk.
But we are going to take a quick break and come back and talk about Saga.
Bark.
Not Barks. Saga. Marker. Okay. We are back with the Jaded Book Club.
Saga Jaded Book Club, Chapter 4.
So, it's a jaded world, and we have a Jaded Book Club, and we are now reading Chapter 4, or we're talking about Chapter 4 of Saga. It's an awesome graphic novel by Brian Vaughan and Fiona Staples. Beautiful artwork, amazing writing, insightful character studies on what it means to be alive.
Look at this.
And so I say this, and the very first picture is...
it's two women, female heads, and then just legs. No body, just legs with heads.
Do you want to know something and really weird?
You love this?
Not really.
Oh.
Before I knew what sex was, like I knew how babies were made, I didn't understand any of it. And I'm going to reference another pop culture, then I'm going to reference my childhood experience, and then I'm going to come back to this, and it's all going to make sense. I'm going to reference two different pop culture references. We'll see. So, do you remember on Spaceballs when the president is peeing and then he's having sex first and he's played by Mel Brooks. Shut up, Bark Dog. I'm sorry I said shut up. You don't have to shut up. You can just be. Okay, so he's having sex and then the video screen shows up and it's that lady telling him something and it's business. It's a call. And later on he's peeing and he gets a call the same way. And I used to have... Actually, this is my first wet dream. I'm remembering my first wet dream, and you're here for it. Talking about Saga and my first wet dream. Just go for it. It's fine.
I'm here. I'm still listening.
So, it was having a dream that I had to urinate, and I was in the bathroom, and there was a giant face on the wall. And then Tim and Eric's awesome show, great job, pops into my head with the episode with Rainn Wilson. Do I really have to pee in a girl's mouth? Do I really have to pee in a girl's mouth to make babies?
This was your first wet dream?
No, not that. So I related to that sketch on Tim and Eric Awesome Show so much because in my dream, this was what I was peeing into, and I woke up and it was not pee. There's just a giant mouth, and I did not understand any of it, but I remember having that dream multiple times. I watched Spaceballs a lot, and I knew there was something sexual happening, but I didn't know what. Because I was young enough that I didn't. So Sextillion, the Will in the last episode was going to... was like, he's not going to try. He left the stock hanging, and he said, I'm going to Sextillion to use this credit card. So he shows up, and we see that, obviously, Sextillion is a place of... where a lot
Tillion.
A lot of things can happen there. A lot of things can happen. So
really,
they're wearing fishnet stockings.
Yeah,
these heads.
There's not much to comment on here. He just basically sends
Sextillion
Lion Cat back to the spaceship.
Well, actually, we get some world building. They say, "Oh, welcome to." They're asking his name. Are you going to be paying cash or credit, Mister? And, asking his name, and he says and it's in bold letters, actually. And he says the Will. So he's the Will. He's telling him, no, this is my title. I'm the. And then they immediately know that he's a freelancer. So bounty hunters have they're important here. And people get out of their way whenever they're around. But he's not allowed to bring his weapons in or Lion Cat. So Lion Cat has to go back to the ship and takes his weapons with him. But now we know that the Will is the Will. Do you think it's pronounced the or the?
The. No, the. If it was the, it would be two E's.
Okay. I agree. I pronounce it the. But the way he says the, I guess that would make sense. I'm picturing this tough, bald dude. Actually. Yeah, he's not saying the. He's not the, she's not the stock. Although she might be the stock.
I don't know. I guess it depends on the accent.
Okay. How do you picture the Will? Does the Will have an accent, an American accent, or something else?
Nah, he doesn't look American.
Scandinavian? British?
I don't know.
Okay, so we cut back to Alana, Marco, and Isabel, and we're waiting for Marco to heal. He's up on the top of a mountain, getting covered in snow. And Alana's like, what the hell? Why isn't he better yet? He needs to get better so I can kill him, because who the fuck is Gwendolyn? And
Right.
Isabel's trying to talk some sense into her, like trying to calm her down. Like, hey, why do you care? He's good to you, right? He's cool. Did he ever do anything wrong? Well, like, because she doesn't want to be stuck with an unhappy marriage. Because she's going to be stuck with this baby forever. She doesn't want to deal with these two fighting constantly.
You're right. So she's just like, who cares? Move on.
Okay, Marco wakes up and Alana just attacks him with a kiss. Like, the first thing she does, she loves him. She loves this dude. She almost lost the person she loves. So what do? You kiss them. But as soon as he starts talking, she's like, shut the fuck up. Who the fuck is Gwendolyn? So she wants her answers. She needs to know what the hell's going on.
And Marco's just like, fuck. And then it cuts back to our Will. Or the Will.
The Will, he's walking down. It's actually one of my favorite pieces of art in the book.
There's so much sex happening.
So the Will's walking down this stairway, this floating stairway in Sextillion, and he's just surrounded by winged people floating around, flying and fucking, and the idea of flying sex is just really intriguing to me.
Yeah, I'd like that to happen at one point.
So if you want to arrange for us to go into an
though.
anti-gravity.
There's like hairy ass.
That's like a bunny tail.
I like the bunny tail. I just don't like this scruffy ass over here.
Oh no, I guess that's an unshaved ass. Okay.
Anyway, like the next 3 pages are just images of fucking.
No dialogue, just the Will walking through Sextillion, looking at things.
Yeah.
Looking at some crazy things.
Different sexes, huh?
There's a stuffed T-Rex with a
It almost looks
purple
like it's
dildo.
Rex from Toy Story.
It does. So we're getting the idea that anything that
goes in Sextillion.
Anything that your mind can possibly imagine, because it's a big universe.
Although, what is being blasted into this man's beehole?
Oh,
it looks like
that is a wine bottle.
2-liter up the butt.
That is definitely a wine bottle. But then somebody asks, "Hey, you look disappointed. Not everything you were hoping for." So it's like the Will tells us this all seems a little safe. He's like, I know, and this creep that works on Sextillion is like, okay, I know what you're looking for. Follow me. You need somebody who'll do whatever you want. And back to the baby.
Is a slave girl, though.
Ugh. But then we don't know where he's going. We're about to be we're kind of disgusted by the Will at this point, and back to cute little floating ghost lady. She's playing with the baby and making little weird baby noises, baby talk, and Marco looks over and says, she's with us forever, because he's realizing as long as they have the baby, they now have to be with this teenager who's always going to be a teenager, and he's trying to ask questions. What the hell is going on? I need to know. Like, when the sun goes down, she goes away. Well, which sun? Well, there's a million suns. We're not going to be on this sun forever, this planet forever. Some planets have lots of suns. And she tells him, shut up. Like, you're stalling.
Maybe you should tell me more about this wife of yours.
So you got a wife? You got a bride? Your bride? Let's. You're gonna tell me about this ever?
Marco just like, nah, she's not actually my wife. We were just engaged.
Oh, she's just my fiance.
No big deal.
That would be more accurate. It's like, you're not helping yourself, Marco. Shut up and answer the question. So Marco was engaged before he went off to fight in the war, and she's somebody important. She didn't have to go fight. She wasn't a soldier. She's one of the few who didn't get drafted into this evil war. And
all right, so Alana's just trying to get confirmation that Gwendolyn's in the past and they can move on, right?
Yeah, I mean,
she had never heard about this woman.
Gwendolyn, my bride. That requires more questioning.
All right, so Marco's just like, I loved her. She is someone I loved.
Past tense.
Doesn't mean I want her going forward.
Kind of like Isabel said.
Yeah.
Like, it's in his past. Why do you care?
But, I mean, obviously she needs some clarification there to never hear about that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So she's just making sure there's not, anything left unspoken between them or whatever. And
he's like, no, we were just different. I was becoming a different person. I saw combat. I wrote home about it. Told her, hey, I don't like this. And she's like, oh, no, just fight the good fight. Because her parents are someone important. She doesn't have to fight. He's experiencing the combat. And what he and Alana bonded over was their pacifism.
Right.
Sort of. Their hatred of this, their distaste for this war, at least. And
yeah, I wouldn't say Alana's.
She hates this war.
She does hate the war, but she's not any sort of pacifist.
Yeah, and she's definitely not going to be... But she's definitely not going to be in support of landfall anytime soon. Yeah. But like Marco points out, I became a different person, and she stayed the same person. The person I was loved her. The person I am doesn't, or can't. So, I'm here. It wasn't just, I found another pretty face, because Alana asks him, she's like, what, you just saw another pretty face and fell in love with another girl? Mm-hmm. He's like, I better fucking mean more than that. And he's like, no, this is who I am. Yeah. And I became a person who appreciates this with you. So, anything else we gotta do? Anything, like, what is she gonna... So we have to deal with a mad ex-girlfriend now? It's a little more complicated than that. She might want her rings back. Her rings back? What? So, the wedding rings that Marco and Alana have, they allow them...
to be able to communicate with one another.
Because Marco doesn't speak language.
It's not...
He's a Mooney.
Like... I mean, I would be so pissed if you gave... But then to find out, hey, it's the only way we can communicate, Because
they do not speak the same language. She does not speak Mooney. He does not speak language. So now they've got to deal with that. So she might want these back. But... I love this line. It cuts... It's the last scene we see of them for a minute, and she says, for a pacifist, you sure do ask to get stabbed a lot. Back to Sextillion.
Back to the will, and this is one of the reasons you fall in love with the will immediately. So first, when we saw the will, he is pissed because he didn't want to kill this animal. Right? The beautiful creature.
I can't remember what it was called, but it was a giant monster-looking thing.
So now we see this scene where this disgusting-looking creature is taking him to his slave girl, or the slave girl, right? And
he opens the door.
And this little girl must be, what, 6? Mm-hmm. 7? I don't know. She's tiny.
She's trained that when he asks if she's decent, she says, And he's proud that he taught her to say this. He says, anything but, master. Are you decent in there? Anything but.
Ew.
And then he gives this gross smirk to the camera.
Like,
I taught her to say that.
That's so gross.
So the first thing the will says.
How old is she?
And she answers. She says, I'm 6, and I'll do anything you want. And the only thing he asks her to do is close her eyes.
And then it's so
and
great.
He splats this creep's head with his bare hands.
Bare hands, full on smack. And his hands are just perfect like this, so you know the strength is.
And so he didn't even. So we're really starting to like the will now. It reminds me of that Sublime song, "The Wrong Way." Like he was there for a whore, but then he ends up killing the people who are keeping her hostage. And we get a voiceover from Hazel, which I love these. Like every freelancer I had the misfortune to eventually meet, he was a fucking monster, referring to the will. But as my family was about to learn, some monsters are worse than others. So the will's a monster, but he's not the worst monster.
Did we get her name?
We do not get her name yet.
Okay.
We don't get her name until she's with Lying Cat.
Oh, okay.
Which, oh my god, I love those. I love Lying Cat. Marco's changing some diapers. Alana's up. She's like, oh shit. I'm like, what? Yeah, I know, it's gross. She's like, no, grab your shit.
So tough.
We're running. And he's like, what? What are you talking about? Why would we just... Marco?
Marco, come on. Like, you're on the run, and your wife says...
Your wife, this badass warrior...
Get your shit.
We're running. You ask your questions while you're running. That's all I'm going to say. Is
taking his sweet time. What is it?
So we look up, and he's like, I don't see anything. It's because they're using a noise disruptor. You wouldn't be able to hear it. And we look up, and we see this cool-looking beetle-shaped spaceship. Looks like a silverfish. A flying silverfish. And Marco he breaks his vow. He pulls that sword from its scabbard.
Well...
And he says...
What choice do they have?
We fight. And then that's chapter 4. That's the end of chapter 4. What'd you think?
I love the Will.
I love the Will. He's one of the greatest characters of all time. I could say that about everybody in this book.
It's just how powerful he is, just with the splat of... Because that's what the head does. There's no word by it that says
there are
splat,
bone chunks.
But you definitely hear the splat.
Yeah, we don't get the onomatopoeia.
No onomatopoeia, but
there are teeth flying there.
You don't need it because you can hear it with just the image.
This gross monster had a lot of teeth, so a lot of what's flying are teeth, and
it's gross.
And this girl throws her arms around the Will. She knows he's there to protect her. And he's like, oh shit, what am I going to do? And she says, thank you. How... The social commentary in this is so big. Like, sex trafficking is such a big problem especially for people from communities going through hardship. It's this creep who was leading the Will to this slave girl. He tells her, oh yeah, we pick them from camps all around the galaxy. And then he says, the Will asks, camps? And he says, yeah, the refugee camps mostly. Anywhere that war starts hitting, we go there and we start recruiting. And it's disgusting. And but it happens. When you put people into those situations, they're more vulnerable and they need extra protections, but they're not getting it because your people are focused on fighting around them. So it allows for the opportunity for these criminals to come in and do these disgusting things.
Well, they trick them by creating a sense of family and all of that.
Yeah, so
pulling them in.
Yeah, they
feel like they have nowhere else to go. That's their only option is
to work for these people, because if I don't, I'm gonna step on a landmine.
Yeah.
Or
what's the alternative?
Oh man, Saga deals with some heavy shit, and it is such a good book, though. That's the thing. That's what makes it good, is that it covers things that happen in real life. It created a world.
It addresses issues in our world by using other worlds to or call attention to it. And it might seem like it's a dramatization, but it's not. I guarantee if you are to go look at sex trafficking, where are they going? Well, they're going to the places,
They're going to poor neighborhoods.
They're going to refugee camps because
they're going to the group homes.
They can promise a different life.
Homeless shelters.
Yeah.
What do you think about Marco and Alana's relationship? You think it's safe from here? Do you think she's going to forgive him for the whole Gwendolyn thing in the rings?
When you say, do you think?
I guess you've read the entire thing.
I've read the whole thing.
Well, you haven't read the newest issue.
I have not, but
which is out now. But we have not read it, and we won't until we get there. We've got a couple more of these books to go.
Peter, you can't be asking
me
questions.
I can't be asking new questions.
I can ask you these questions. Do you think Marco and Alana's relationship is going to be okay?
I do. I think there's something about the two of them that they genuinely have. I think they're willing to do. They love each other and they're willing to do the work, because I've seen them both do the work and they communicate.
Yeah.
Marco, I guess I say they communicate, but Marco didn't tell her that he was married. But he tried. He said he tried. When they talked about the past relationship, she said, "Let's leave that all in the past." She told him, "I don't want to hear about it."
That's such a dumb movie trope, though.
I know.
Or story trope.
If you tell me not to talk about your past, I still want to know if you were married.
Yeah.
Or engaged.
Interesting, both of us were engaged.
We were both engaged at the same time.
Yes.
To different folks. That's fun.
And
not as much as being engaged and then married to you, but it's fun that our story did that. What a weird... I guess that's also bound to happen when you're in a culture that encourages people to get married at 19 or 21.
Yeah. So dumb. Who does that?
What you been enjoying? Not COVID. I've been enjoying the hell out of these birds. I love birds. They make me so happy.
I don't know. I don't really even remember watching anything because they feel so spacey. I know Peacemaker was a great episode.
This week's episode of Peacemaker.
Don't remember shit about it.
It was... I don't want to give too much away, but Peacemaker and Vigilante were running through some trees, and remember something happened to Vigilante. He can't walk as good now, so how is he going to run through trees? And he falls off a tree.
Is that in this last episode?
Yeah, and we laughed nonstop. It was a very giggly episode.
That's what I'm saying. I know it was a great episode, but I really don't remember it.
And John Cena plays piano.
I do remember that. The piano plays itself.
I can't see. I feel so stupid when I don't get those jokes. It's when somebody makes a John Cena joke and you don't get it. So I guess I really didn't see it.
You did not see that coming.
been sleeping a lot because of that COVID thing, so a lot less watching has happened. Played some board games. Played Bird Game.
I love
Bird Game on Twitch. Follow us on Twitch to check us out. And hopefully we'll be taking some more tests this week. Some more COVID tests that end up being negative.
This was the first positive I got this week, though. But that's just because I didn't care to test.
Like, you weren't going anywhere? Nobody else was either?
I have it. I mean...
Also, there were a few days where it was pretty... You would have had a hard time getting out of bed to go.
I still have a hard time getting out of bed. I'm over it, you guys. Why is it taking so long?
I watched I Heart Huckabees last night. Or I tried to.
I fell asleep in I Heart Huckabees last night.
So did everybody else but me, so I turned it off and did not finish I Heart Huckabees. Boba Fett.
I am excited to go watch, because I'm going to go watch it today, Resident Evil. Resident Evil? What the fuck? Resident Alien. I do not want to watch Resident Evil
I was gonna say,
ever in my life.
This is the first I've heard about watching a Resident Evil movie with you, but I'm totally on board.
No.
Remember when we saw
That's the dumbest thing I've ever said.
Remember when we saw Resident Evil and the power went out?
No.
It was
I
that
don't know
shitty
why you
theater.
asked me if I remember. I do remember that.
It was right next to Leatherby's.
It smelled like pee.
It smelled like pee. It was a dollar theater. The power went out in the middle of one of the dark scenes with Pyramid Head. No, Pyramid Head is in Silent Hill. But one of the tyrant thing, I don't know, something with an axe, I think. But it was fun. Let's wrap this thing up.
So anyway, I want to watch Resident Alien, not Resident Evil. And I am excited for that next episode.
I love Alan Tudyk and everything he does. He is
his
never not good.
As an alien is so good. How am I attached to this alien?
Because he's amazing.
Then he does so good at
he's
interacting
rude,
with
he's
the
mean.
kid as an alien and then mimicking the. Oh my god!
Favorite line was from season 1. The kid.
We watched it 10 times.
The kid's telling him. He's telling the kid that, I don't know, he's gonna embarrass him or something. He's like, I'm gonna go tell it from the towers. And he's like, what do you think? The kid looks at him and says, what do you think this is? Tower times? Oh, there's kings and towers everywhere. Let's just go yell at the towers. And it's like, what a stupid argument.
But he's so invested in arguing with this
child. Because the child's the only one who can see that he's an alien. Except for the people he tells. But, oh my god, Alan Tudyk is great.
So
Watch
great.
him in everything. He's Hey Hey on Moana, if you don't know who we're talking about. That's what he's known for.
Ow!
No? Okay, nobody on Doom Patrol. Is it Nobody? Or
Mr. Nobody.
Mr. Nobody. Knight's Tale, was that him? Oh, Tucker and Dale versus Evil. He's the skinny one with red hair.
Knight's Tale as well. Wow.
He's
so good. Alan Tudyk does not get enough credit.
Alan Tudyk, if you want to come on the show and talk to us about what it was like to play Hey Hey.
That'd be great.
All right, I've been Peter Teabags.
I'm MJ.
Follow us on things. Leave us reviews. Don't be so jaded. Gonna do some breathing real quick.
Why?
Oh, because I walked from there.
Oh.
And then I burped once. I'm just going to look to see how to make a marker. Is there a button? Just to, if it's not here, I'm just going to move on. Toggle snapping. If I hit M, what does that do? Gives me a marker.
Wow, look at that.
So if
How
we...
convenient.
Wait, does it... Okay. That's good. Marker 1 and 2 are...
And on marker 3 we begin.